If you ever run an Uber's draft league, do not allow Arceus at all. Like, normal Arceus should never be allowed in any type of draft league because there's just way too much that Arceus can do, and that's exactly what we're facing here in our week 8 match of the BBL against my good friend the Flying Bird. This is honestly though probably my favorite match of the season so far. Like, this game was really good. And if you guys don't know who Bird is, check him out. He did narrate his side of the match. Channel link and stuff should be down below if you guys go ahead and check out. On a side note though, get past YouTube, how's it going, guys? We are so close to Pokemon Sword and Shield. We are almost a month away from the new games, guys, and I'm so excited, man. I want to use all these new Pokemon. I don't really mind if the story is not that good for the games, but I want to use all the new Mons and see what can be done differently with the new Mons and features and stuff. Let me know though in the comment section below, what are you guys more excited for? Are you excited for a good story, or are you excited for the battling side of it? As I just said, I'm more excited about the battling side, so let me know in the comment section below. And as I mentioned, yes, we are facing Arceus normal, which means that is clearly the biggest problem going into this battle, because it can pretty much do anything. It can be fat setup, it can be offensive, it can just be choiced. I don't know if it's going to be Calm Mind, Swords Dance, Mixed, Banded, Specs. I don't know, dude. There's so much Arceus can do in this game, and that's not to mention that he also still has scary threats like offensive Emboar, Mimikyu, Bisharp, and Tornadus, which he just decided to lead off with. So I figured in this match I might have to play a little bit risky, which is what I end up doing here turn 1. I know he's got the Bisharp in the back, but I'm pretty positive he's not going to expect me to stay in to try and take a Hurricane from the Tornadus, and I don't think he's going to want to risk bringing in Bisharp in case I do go for something like knockoff. So I figured Parting Shot here was a good play. As I catch the incoming Emboar, I can now bring in my Quillfish, and this gives me a chance to start hopefully hazard stacking him, because the less HP that the Arceus is when it comes in, the better it will be for me. So I get up a layer of spikes here, as in comes the Roselia. I figured that he's either going to go for Giga Drain or spikes potentially, so I can try to bring in my Pyro here and hopefully just click Choice Specs Fire Blast, because with him not having Slowbro, even if he does have the Emboar, if Emboar is offensive, it's going to be taking a hell of a lot of damage from a Specs Fire Blast, as he actually ends up going for the Leech Seed, which I did not expect whatsoever. And because I don't want to get severely weakened, because I do kind of need Pyroar to check the Mimikyu, I'm going to make a switch here directly into my Mewtwo, hoping that he would stay in, or maybe switch out and expecting him to not bring in something like Arceus or the Pyro on me. Then my Mewtwo Y was still a pretty safe switch in here. As I catch the incoming Tornadus, this is amazing because now I can Mega Evolve, and depending on his spread, I might actually be able to knock him out here with the Thunderbolts. Unfortunately though, it just barely hangs on, like 20-25% it lived on, so that is rather annoying, because now he can U-turn out and regen back HP, and if I don't get on my Stealth Rocks, I have no way of punishing that Tornadus, so that is another big issue I'm gonna have to worry about later. As in comes the Mimikyu, it does take the spikes damage, which is amazing, so thinking that he would go for a Shadow Claw here, I switched directly into my Quillfish in the hopes of maybe being able to get up a second lair, but Bird ends up making a really good double switch here into his Burb, and this is a problem because I cannot afford to lose my Quillfish, so there is no way that I can stay in here on this Tornadus, so I'm going to be forced to switch out, as he actually ends up going for the Defog. Now that is a little bit annoying, but now I know that this most likely is not an offensive Tornadus, which means I can deal with it a little bit easier, but it's still going to be annoying regardless if I'm not able to get on my Stealth Rock. So that's what I'm going to try and hopefully do here with my Registeel, because even if he wants to stay in and tries to keep spamming Defog on me, eventually I will be able to get on my Stealth Rocks regardless, and they will hopefully be here to stay. So I decided to go for the Iron Head, and this actually does a pretty good chunk of damage, but it turns out that he's Rocky Helmet, which is slightly annoying because I was hoping to keep this Registeel at a good amount of HP to try and deal potentially with this Arceus later. As I get on my Stealth Rocks here, he brings in the Arceus directly. Unfortunately, I am not boosted, so there is no way that I'm going to be doing any type of damage to this Arceus, so I'm going to be forced to switch out here. As I bring in my Quillfish, I at least get the Intimidate off in case he is Swords Dance, but it turns out that he does not only just have Substitute, but as you guys are going to see, he is not physical at all, and this is where I started to kind of panic a little bit, because I was like, I am probably about to just get swept despite this, because there is no way that I'm going to be able to break the substitute of this Arceus with my Qwilfish. So my hope is that I can maybe try and haze away his boosts and then try to bring in my Mewtwo to Calm Mind alongside him. So he actually does end up going for a second Calm Mind here, and this is really good for me because I did end up going for the haze this turn. There is no reason for me to play around this thing. I should not be spiking, I should not be attacking. I need to prevent this thing from getting too many boosts so I can get a somewhat safe switch into my Mewtwo to try and boost up alongside it. So I could have hard switched this turn into my Mewtwo, but I figured that if he knocks out my Qwilfish, then that gives me a safe switch in. So I tried to spike here because with me revealing that I have haze, there's no reason for him to try and Calm Mind. So I figured that if I live a hit, I get up a spike, but unfortunately he does end up one-shotting me here, which is a little bit annoying, but it's not that big of an issue. As long as I at least have rocks up, things shouldn't be entirely too bad, because now I can bring in Mewtwo, go for the Calm Mind, and as we're going to find out here, it turns out that his final move is Hyper Voice, which I found a little bit odd. I think Judgment would have done more damage, but I think he mentioned in his builder that Hyper Voice was in case I brought sub on anything, which does make sense, I suppose. But because I do have Side Strike, which hits on the physical side, if he really wants to stay in here and start Calm Minding up alongside me, I'm going to definitely win that war 1v1. So thinking that he would switch into Bisharp, expecting me to go for Recover, Calm Mind, or Side Strike, I actually go for the Thunderbolt and just barely missed out on the KO on this Bisharp. And this is where, if I was able to get up that layer of spikes, it would have been so amazing, because now I need to play around the Pursuit mind games, and then there's a chance that he doesn't even have Pursuit. He could have Sucker Punch and Knockoff. As we saw here, he does have the Knockoff, so now I'm thinking, okay, maybe he'll Sucker Punch, so I'm going to try and recover, but he goes for another Knockoff, and now I'm like, okay, maybe he'll Sucker Punch here, so I'm going to recover, as he does actually end up going for the Sucker Punch. And this is amazing because now we're getting into the mind games here. I can try to recover again, or I can try to be aggressive here. Either way, I need to bank on me getting the correct play correct here, and I am able to knock out the Bisharp and get out of this exchange with my Mewtwo Y at a very high amount of HP, which means I can still check the Arceus later in the match. As in comes the Mimikyu here, because his disguise is still intact, there is no reason for me to stay in here and lose my Mewtwo Y this early on in the match, so expecting him to just go straight for the Shadow Claw, or I guess Shadow Sneak wouldn't have been too bad either. I get more or less free switch here into my Pyro. I am modest choice specs. I am clicking Flamethrower. I do not care if he has Embor in the back. I can get off any type of damage on it and then go from there, as this actually does way more than I was expecting. I think if I had gone for Hyper Voice there, I might have actually been able to one-shot him, honestly, but that was way too risky of a play for me to have made in that scenario, because I guess he might have been able to keep in the Mimikyu. Regardless though, I know he's offensive at this point, so I'm going to be able to bring in my Garchomp here. Because he is a special Arceus, I don't really need to worry about my my Garchomp being at full HP, so I can switch it in here, tank the hit, and then knock him out with the Dragon Claw. I know by going for Dragon Claw, I probably would have baited in the Mimikyu, but I figured it was a lot safer than letting Tornadus come in, because if I had gone for an Earthquake, then Tornadus comes in, he U-turns for free. So at least by forcing in the Mimikyu, I still have Pyroar, but he actually ends up bringing in the Roselia, so thinking that he would go for a Spike or Leech Seed, I switch right back into my Pyroar, but it turns out that he has Toxic Spikes, and this is really bad, because if he gets up 2 layers of T-Spikes, that means his Arceus will be able to potentially beat my Mewtwo 1v1, so I need to be aggressive here. I'm going to go straight for the Fire Blast, because fun fact, after the Stealth Rock's damage, if Roselia was max SPDF, max HP, it lived a modest Choice Specs Flamethrower, which is ridiculous. There is no way a little puny Rose should live a modest Specs stab super effective hit. So that just baffled me, and I was so terrified when I clicked Fire Blast, because if I had missed, that would have been so bad. Thankfully though, we didn't miss, as in comes the Tornadus. I'm going to switch right into my Registeel here, and this is where I'm going to reveal to him that I do have the curse, because now this is going to be able to smack around not only this Tornadus, but it also prevents the Arceus from ever getting behind a substitute, because I will always be able to break its sub unless he has not only max HP, but like a lot of defensive ease. I'm pretty sure the absolute min Ironhead does at +1 to max HP Arceus is 25%, so he would need to have a lot of physical defense investment in order to guarantee its sub not broken. at +1. So I get rid of the Tornadus. In comes the Arceus. Yeah, this is not ever going to end up behind a sub. No chance at all, as I am able to break it. This is nice because now I put him in a predicament of, does he want to take more than 25% damage, or does he want to go ahead and knock me out and not be behind a sub? And he chooses the latter as he finishes me off. This is really nice because now I can bring in either my Mewtwo Y or bring in my Garchomp. And I figured Mewtwo Y might be a little bit better because he does not have a switch in whatsoever to my Side Strike. And at this point, I don't even need to try and calm mind up against this Arceus. I can just be aggressive with the Side Strike because I'm still doing over 30% to him. As you can see here, it's going to be a clean 3 KO. If he's not able to knock me out before I knock him out, then that basically guarantees me the victory. But at this point, I just need to weaken this Arceus to the point where I can then bring in my Scarf Garchomp and hopefully knock him out with the Earthquake, as I will be able to get one last Side Strike off even after the leftovers recovery. With this Arceus being so low, I will definitely guarantee a KO with my Garchomp. So the Hyper Voice into the Toxic will be able to knock me out, and I guess you can actually chalk that kill up to Roselia. So technically Roselia just took out a Mega Mewtwo Y, as I can now bring in Garchomp here. I am running enough speed to guarantee outspeed this Arceus. So after I finish him off with the Earthquake, in comes the Mimikyu. Mimikyu could actually still be a little bit of a problem because if he's Jolly Max Speed, my Pyroar does not outspeed him, and that is actually really scary now that I think about it. But the more I thought about the matchup, the more I realized there's actually no real reason he should ever be Jolly Max Speed Mimikyu. So that's like the worst case scenario, but it's a worst case scenario that really shouldn't be a scenario in general. So I'm really not worried about what he wants to do here, whether it is go for Swords Dance or just try to knock me out with any one hit. Pyro in the back should still guarantee live any one hit, since it hasn't really taken any damage at all in this match. As he knocks me out with the Play Rough, I can now bring in my Pyroar and potentially just knock him out here with any move that I want to go for, unless he is faster than me and he's like break Z move or Drain Punch, Fightinium Z, but he's not faster than me, so we don't need to worry about that, as I'm able to pick him off here with the Flamethrower, and that is going to be the 2-0 victory, I believe, in my favor. So yeah, don't ever allow Arceus. You can allow Arceus types, just the bad types, just not normal Arceus, please, because prepping for that thing is such a nightmare. How do you prep around an Arceus? I don't know. I really don't know, but we were able to steal the victory here, thankfully, because it didn't have any reliable recovery, so that was a good way to take advantage of it in this match. But yeah, guys, let me know if y'all are excited for battling or for the story of Sword and Shield. And with that being said, hopefully y'all did enjoy the match, and I will see you all tomorrow. So thank you for watching. Later, everybody.
Because my brain and heart are both tied in a knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.